Welcome to Winbrook Pride, where we explore, engage, and experience art, community, culture, and entertainment. One of cable's longest running active shows on public access. I want to thank the creator of the show, Brother Darryl Jenkins, who's allowed me to take hold of his baby and take the reins and take the show where it needs to go. So today, we have a special guest in the studio today. He is a blues singer, writer, composer, actor, and he most recently has been nominated for a Grammy for Best Traditional Recording. And he is also the son of the late, great Ossie Davis and Ruby Dee. And we want to welcome Brother Guy Davis to the show.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, man.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Welcome, welcome. And before we get into it, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you tour all over the place, and it's a privilege and an honor just to have you here today.
Steve, I'm never too busy for you. Besides, when do we get to hang out?
That's true. That's true. Amen. So I want to get into the definition of blues, if that's even possible, because I know there's so many different genres of blues music. And the reason why I say that is because in my upbringing, my mother's very church going, and I was raised in the church, so we couldn't play quote unquote devil music in the house, and that's what her terminology of it was. But I've seen a movie called The Adventures of Babysitting. I don't know if you're familiar with that. The actress' name was Elizabeth Shue. And what happened was, there was a lot of hijinks and drama with her babysitting these teenagers. And over the course of the night, they ran into a blues bar. And B.B. King was playing the blues. And he said, "Don't nobody leave unless you sing the blues." And so she just kind of embraced all of the drama and the perplexity that they were going through. And out of that morphed this and evolved this beautiful song about their troubles. And it was called the Babysitting Blues. And I bring that up to say, it kind of changed my perspective on what blues actually was. Is it a part of embracing trouble and perplexity and struggle?
I think the blues is that. Mm-hmm. I think the blues is the music of survivors of some of the most terrible times produced by this country. Ever since the end of the Civil War and the end of Reconstruction, when the times of terror and the Night Riders and the Ku Klux Klan came into being, ever since the black codes, wherein a black and white person would stand together before the same judge, and that black man would do more time than the white man if they were accused of the same crime, convicted of the same crime. Well, the blues is the music of the people who survived that.
Right. Wow.
And yeah, I got thoughts and ideas about the blues. Yes, indeed.
That's right. That's right. And what is like your connection to blues?
My connection to blues, I would say it has a lot to do with my grandmother's voice, my father's mother's voice. Now, she did not sing the blues, but she was born during the times that before the 1900s, when some of those blues people were coming into being. And she told me stories from way back in the day about evading the Klan and evading death. And so my grandparents, and also the music that I heard in church when I went with her, the voices were the same, even though the words with the blues and the gospel music was different.
Definitely.
I've also, I was introduced to the blues, I think, first by the voices of some white college boys.
Okay.
I heard it in my house when I grew up, they didn't have blues music. There was Harry Belafonte, there's Olatunji's drums at Passion, Fats Waller in his rhythm. And I know I heard somewhere way back in the day some white boys singing something that sounded like Howlin' Wolf on a street corner. And I didn't know that it was my music as far as culture was concerned, that it had to do specifically with black people, but it felt special just to hear it.
Wow.
I said, man, this is, whatever it is. And then comes along, yeah, it is. It's part of you. It's part of your family. Part of everything the people my grandparents were. That's all that.
And it sounds as though you're transgenerational, because in your music you have a high appreciation, one obviously for our culture and our struggle and the pain, and that comes out of blues music. There was a song you have, Black Coffee, where you said, "Mama, give me a cup. I might not feel like I can get back up," things of that nature.
Oh, yeah.
And for me, I have a high appreciation for our culture, as you said, through my grandmother and my mother. And they talked to me about the moaner's bench and how you had to pray all night long until you got the Spirit. And that was the definition of being saved and giving your life to Christ. And that transgenerational piece that you talk about, because your connection has been your grandmother, I think is missing with this generation. Because you mentioned, go ahead.
Well, let's just say that it still exists. It needs to be reconnected.
Okay.
By people such as myself being in the entertainment industry, but also people such as yourself, because you are aware of it.
Yes.
There is a group, at least one group down south, I think in Washington, D.C. And I was teaching at a summer camp, and the camp employed these people, must have been 60 of them, black folks,
Wow.
to come up in buses. And one evening, as part of our entertainment, they put a bench on the stage, and they had these black folks stand at that bench and begin to slowly circle it, singing these old songs.
Right.
And by the time the evening was over, I was in tears.
Right.
Because I felt so connected, going right back again to my grandmother's voice.
Right.
And the story she told. But I gotta tell you something about the blues. The blues nowadays is something, was invented by the black man, about the black man, sung to the black man and woman. But nowadays, the blues is not owned by the black man. Right. Sure. I don't mean to make it sound any quite racial as it's going to sound, but
it's
if a black man want to sing the blues, he's going to have to go to someone of the Caucasiastic persuasion to get permission to do so.
Right.
I got a story about that. A story that goes further back than that. Once upon a time, there was this old black blind man used to sit on a tree stump way down south and play the blues. And he sing, "Takes a word, man. Sing a word song. Takes a word, man. Sing a word song. I'm worried now, but I won't stay worried long." And there was people crossed all up and down that street, and they saw that man singing. They'd put money in his hat, which was on the ground. And one white man saw that and said, "Man, I would love to find out what it's like to be black and sing the blues." So that man, he went home and he took some black shoe polish, put it all on his arms and his face and skin, and came back there with his mandolin. And while the black man was singing, the white man pulled out his mandolin and started playing, "It takes a word, man, to sing a word song." And the black man listened, "Man, that sounds good." He didn't know that it wasn't a black man who was singing, and the music sounded good. It sounded beautiful. And it takes a word, man. Well, just then, a busload full of black convicts came up the road, and it broke down at a flat tire right across the road from where that black man and the white man, who he didn't know was white, was singing and playing. And a driver looked out with a cigar, and the guard got off the bus with his rifle, and they cussing because he had this flat tire, and they didn't have a jack on the bus. So they made all those black men get off that bus and made them lift that bus up while some of them changed the wheel. And while the black men were holding that bus up, they were singing, "It takes a word, man, to sing a word song. It takes a word, man." And the guard said, man, they wasn't moving fast enough. He took his whip out and he beat them, he smacking them, thrashing them, and called them by that terrible word that begins with an N. And one of them men just couldn't take it no more, and he laid down in the car, just beat him. Just laid, he was gone. He was dead. So the rest of the black men got back on that bus. The guard got back on. The driver sitting up there, and the driver called out, "If you two Negro fellas want to come on up to the penitentiary and entertain us, why then you just come on. Maybe we'll come back for you if you like." don't you know that white man in blackface jumped up and said, "It take a colored man to sing a colored song. I'm colored now, but I won't stay colored long." He ran down the road. They never heard from him again.
Again.
And when he watched it, right there. Yeah,
I love
so
it.
that's just to say that the
Right.
blues is more than the music.
Yes,
There
yes,
is
yes.
beauty in the music, but there's a lot of blood, suffering, and pain that
Wow.
went into it.
Wow.
And I don't think the people who are making the money and owning the blues now want to share that part of it.
Wow, I love that analogy. That's powerful. Right. That's a powerful story, and I want to share that. I like that. And you also said one time, in the same vein as this, that hip hop is the grandchild of the blues. And I already know that gospel music and the blues are intimately, closely related. Same bloodline. And I also remember, and it's kind of going back beyond my time, but I kind of remember years ago there was an uproar when James Cleveland took a song by Gladys Knight and the Pips and changed the words from "You are the best thing that ever happened to me" to "Jesus is the best thing that happened to me." And why did he do that? The church world and the saints was up in a roar. Saints was rolling over in their grave, and it was the worst thing you could have ever done. However, over time, everyone accepted the song, and it became a hit. And I say that to say this, that even though blues and gospel are closely related, as such as hip hop is closely related to blues, that transformation from with blues to hip hop is not coexisting at all. And what are your thoughts on that?
Again, I think it's up to me to emphasize to all of us that the relationship is there. What you just said that James Cleveland did, he picked the song because it was good music.
Yeah.
It's beautiful music, music formed from the human soul. Now, the church is an institution, and just being an institution does not mean that God is there. It has to be in the hearts and the souls of the people.
Right.
And with him standing up and doing something that set him apart for a while and believing in it, then it brought it back into the main arena. Ray Charles did the same thing in reverse, taking the church music, as you know, and putting it into rhythm and blues. Well, hip hop, I know I've heard some of it that make my ears want to fall off my head.
Right, that's where I am basically.
Oh man, talking about women in a terrible way.
Right, right.
But you cannot throw the whole thing out. You cannot.
Right, because it's a portion of hip hop and not the entire culture of hip hop or music of hip hop.
Well, yeah, maybe hip hop is not through being formed yet, to some extent. I remember my son used to get these little hip hop records, and he'd want me to get them for him. And I promised myself, no matter what, I would listen to them with him at least once before I gave an opinion. And some of them, like I said, made my my ears fall out.
Right.
But I have a neighbor in the Bronx who back then told me he found a hip hop CD that his son had that he didn't know about, and he threw it out unopened. And I promised myself that I would never do that to my son. I would not castigate something without at least bearing witness to it with my ears and then saying to my son what makes me uncomfortable.
Right, okay.
I can't force him to think a certain way. I can't tell him what to think, or I could tell him, but ultimately he's going to think what he's going to think.
That's right, right.
And
it is what it is.
So so hip hop covers some of the same territory that the blues used to cover. Hip hop is the present day devil's music, while blues was the devil's music from the ancient past.
Exactly.
And believe me, back in the Middle Ages, anything more modern than that was the devil's music.
Exactly.
So we just have to come together as people and make room for discussion amongst all of us, with the men, the women. That some things may be nice to listen to, but they take a whole group of people and make them feel like they're nothing.
Right.
And that's ultimately not going to have us survive as a species, let alone as a race.
Right, right. Because I think some of the message gets distorted through the different genres of music, in terms specifically for hip hop. specifically on hip hop. And what is, and I want to get to your album here, but what's the message that you're trying to convey through your music?
My personal message that I am trying to convey as a human being with a soul is that things and people are not necessarily what they look like from the outside. You got to look close at people, because sometimes there is light that is not evident on first glance.
I like that.
And then sometimes there is darkness that is not evident
on the first
glance. My message as a human being and as an artist is that you have to look beneath the surface.
Wow. Because music is universal language. I like that.
It is.
Sonny and Brownie's Last Train. Talk to me about that.
Oh, man. Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee were two black artists way back in the 20th century. They'd worked together in the late 30s, 40s as blues artists. And when the 50s and 60s came around, they became what's known as folk artists, doing a lot of the same songs, but they survived the blues era, they survived the folk era, and kept music alive, not just their own music that they created, but music by Leadbelly, music by folk icons like Woody Guthrie.
Okay.
They would be on stage with people like Odetta and Big Bill Broonzy and Pete Seeger. And I got to meet both of these gentlemen, and they have affected my life. In particular, Sonny has affected my life pretty deeply. Brownie was the one that I met twice. He came to see a show that I wrote and performed in Oakland, California, 20-something years ago.
Wow.
And gave me the greatest compliment by saying that it kind of reminded him of his partner, Sonny. Now, Sonny Terry was a blind, legally blind harmonica player. Brownie McGee was the guitar player. He happened to have, I think it was polio, and he walked with a limp, but he played that guitar and wore it out. And Sonny played that harmonica like nobody before him.
Wow.
And I better first relate it to this CD, then I'm going to tell you more about Sonny later.
Okay.
Fabrizio Poggi, the gentleman to the left in this photo, the camera sees it there. It's to our left, to the right in the photo, this one.
Right here, okay.
Is playing the harmonica through most of this CD. He produced it. He put up the money for it and asked me would I be part of it.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, man, Sonny and Brownie, they don't need people to cover their work. They're classic. They are royalty. But Fabrizio is a very persuasive cat, and he has produced other work of mine too. So I said, okay, I'll do it. And doggone it, if somebody just within these past 2 weeks did not get hold of Fabrizio and his wife Angelina and my manager and the agents on the tour while I was over in England and say, well, looks like this album has been nominated for the best traditional recording.
Wow, that's awesome.
Of the year. And then
wow.
I'm like, huh? What? Say that again?
Right.
Now repeat that in
English.
Up, right? Say it in English.
Right.
And I had no reason to expect any kind of nomination. I mean, I try to do my best work.
Right.
And I've made about 13, 14 CDs, I guess, over the space of 20-odd years, 20-something years. And
you never imagined being Grammy nominated?
No.
Nice.
But here it is. We're nominated for a Grammy and not unhappy about it.
That's all right. That's all right. Glad about it, right?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Sonny, the harmonica playing part of this duo. Back in 1947, there was a musical going up on Broadway called Finian's Rainbow. It was due to be the first fully integrated musical on Broadway. And Yip Harburg wrote, the guy who wrote the song "Somewhere Over the Rainbow." You know,
Yes, I know that.
He also wrote the music to this musical. And Pete Seeger called up the producers and said, you know, there's this fellow, Sonny Terry, plays a harmonica. You got to see if you can use him in your musical. And so they had him come down and audition. And Sonny, who's, like I said, he's legally blind. He stood there, he played, and people were dancing at the audition. It was so good because he had a way of playing a harmonica, making you want to jump and dance. And they said, "Sonny, is that your song?" So, well, man, that's exactly what we want. That's just what the show needs. It'll make it so beautiful. We're hiring you right now. They gave him the job on the spot. So all you got to do is play that song the same way every performance. It's going to be 6 days a week, 8 performances during that time. Just play it the same way.
Nice.
You know, so the ladies could dance. And Sonny said, "Well, same way. I don't know if I could play it the same way. You know, I got to play like I feel it."
Right.
And then one of the producers wrote down a little piece of paper what they're going to pay Sonny every week. And Sonny, he took the paper. He said, "Oh, the same way." "Yeah, I'll play it the same."
Did you mean the same way?
Oh, the same. I understand now.
Right. Another universal language.
Yeah.
I like it. You definitely remind me so much of your mom and dad in terms of the storytelling. No one can tell a story like they could. And through your music and just sitting here talking with you and experiencing you, I like the storytelling. It's profound.
Well, thank you very much. Mom and Dad were storytellers, and their parents, my grandparents, were all storytellers because I listened to all of them. People tell me I tell stories good as a politician. Only problem is, you know, I'm lying coming in the door. I only charge one flat rate. A politician come in there, he wants to be paid per lie, and he don't tell you when he's going to lie.
We're going to tell you when he's going to lie.
Oh,
we know you coming in lying, right?
That's right. You know, flat out. I'm lying right now. Just one flat rate.
Wow. My brother, congratulations. You have been nominated, you, Guy Davis, and Fabrizio Poggi.
Yes.
Nominated for Sonny and Brownie's Last Train for, and I want to get this right, Best Traditional Recording.
Correct.
Best Traditional Recording. Tell everyone where we can reach you at.
Okay, let's see. I've got a website. That's guydavis.com. And there's also a Facebook page, which is actually run by my manager because it's like a fan page kind of thing. And I'm glad about that.
Right.
And so people can reach me by way of that website, and if they're interested in this or any other recordings, you go to Amazon, iTunes, Spotify, all them other things on the internet that I don't much.
So it's guydavis.com?
Correct.
Guydavis.com. Okay, great. And for more information in regards to this episode or to see more of Winbrook Pride and get more information, if you would like to book a show for Winbrook Pride, you can reach me at pattersonsteve2000@yahoo.com. Again, we want to thank Brother Guy for coming on the show, and we want to thank everyone else, and for the creator of the show, Darryl Jenkins. I'm going to close out, but we're going to segue and have Guy perform one of his songs for us. We are really privileged today. So thank you again, everyone, for tuning in and checking out the show. This is my baptism on the show. Guy baptized me today. He don't know it, but he baptized me today. And over 30 years ago, he also baptized Darryl. And he baptized Darryl back then as well. So for Winbrook Pride, again, thank you guys for coming on. We're going to enjoy him on the show. He's going to give us a selection. And this is Steve Patterson for Winbrook Pride. Always remember, be true and be you, and always do what you got to do. Guy Davis, everybody.
I'm going to perform a piece I wrote called "I'm Gonna Shake It Like Sonny Did." And this is not from the CD, but it is a tribute to Sonny Terry, half of this duo that we're celebrating. And it's a tune about moonshine. I could live in the desert. I could crawl through the sand. I could swim in the ocean or walk on dry land. But when it comes to making music, I'm the kid and I'm gonna shake it like Sonny did. Gonna build me a rocket and fly up into space. Have all them aliens looking right down in my face. But when they find that rocket and they pop the lid, I'm gonna jump out shaking like Sonny did. I like to drink bourbon when I sing the blues, but I don't drink government whiskey. I drink that moonshine booze. Police come up, they grab my hand, said, boy, you got your ball and chain. The judge looked at me, said, boy, you doing time. And he banged down his gavel, and he gave me 99. His wife spoke up, don't give him a bid, because that man shaking like Sonny did. The judge's face turned red, put his hand on his hip. He drawed down his pistol, and he poked out his lip. Said, before I let you play me, kid, you be shaking all over like Sonny did. Shot a bullet in the floor, and that's when I start to dance. And he shot a second bullet, almost split my pants. His wife jumped up, she pulled out a gun and said, drop it, Judge, I'll give you one. Shake it, Sonny. Shake it, Sonny. Shake it, Sonny. Shake it, Sonny.